may conduct the business of the people without interruption. Commissioner Ray Davis will give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
May we pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for our country, the United States of America. We ask you to bless our country, our state, our county, and the cities and neighborhoods and communities that make up our county. We ask a special blessing upon our meeting tonight, that we as commissioners will make decisions for the benefit of our county and the people of this county, that they, the voters, have charged us with that responsibility. But most of all, we pray that you, our God, will forgive us of the many sins that we have committed. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Mincy White will call the roll of the commissioners.
I, Venus Mincy White, present as clerk of the Board of the Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman David Bennett.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Toby Connor.
Aye.
Commissioner Ray Mosley. Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Nick Newkirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ray Davis. I've determined that we have 6 members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bulloch County. I now yield the floor back to the chairman.
Thank you. Before I entertain a motion to approve the zoning agenda, do we have any discussion or modification desired by the county manager or the board? Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous decision. Mr. James Pope, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Zoning agenda item number 1 tonight is a rezone request by Rebecca Brown, who has submitted an application to rezone approximately 5.15 acres from an R40 zoning to an Ag 5, agricultural 5 acres zone for the purpose of placing a manufactured home on the property. This property is located at 2911 Lily Creek Road. A general location of this property, as you can see on the map, it's in northeast portion of Bulloch County, just off of 301 and Old River Road. So Lily Creek Road was a previously developed subdivision. At some point, I believe that intersection at 301 and Old River Road was placed into highway commercial, and then the remaining portion was Ag 5. So you have Ag 5 zoning and R40 zoning nearby or adjacent properties. This property just to the south, it was recently rezoned to an Ag 5 zoning, really for the same purpose. It meets the requirements of Ag 5 zoning, and so I'll show you some pictures of the location. Again, it's a smaller subdivision, again, previously developed, but there is no structure or home on the property currently. And so with the nearby zoning and like land uses, staff recommends approval of the rezone request. And I believe Ms. Brown may be here to speak on as applicant. Let me go back.
Hi. I'm just basically wanting to get the property rezoned so I can place a manufactured home out there for my basic living purposes to stay in Bulloch County.
We have one person that signed up, but the name's not legible. Looks like the address is 487.
That's probably
That's you?
just to say
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. So there is no one else signed up, Chairman.
All right. Do we have any discussion from the board?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? We have a unanimous decision to approve.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, agenda item 2 is a rezone request by Mr. Jerry Washington. The rezone is for a condition modification, specifically for condition number 1 of a rezone case dated from 2009, RZ 2009-043. Which was decided October 7th, 2009. The applicant is asking to remove condition 1, and this property is located at 6980 Kennedy Bridge Road. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval by 5-0 vote for the removal of the condition. And staff recommends approval of the condition modification. This property is located New Hope Community access on Kennedy Bridge Road, Old King Road. The structure was previously used as a commercial structure. Looking back in the minutes and from 2009, the intent was to have a convenience store there, and I believe at the time there was during the public hearing, a neighbor came to speak out against the sale of alcohol, beer and wine for that convenience store use. And so that condition was placed on the property at the time of rezoning. And, but I believe it operated as a commercial building prior to zoning. So, at some point they just had to get it rezoned. But this is the Kennedy Bridge Road. Viewing from the property, this would be directly across, and then the access for the property, in which there's some improvements that would have to be made to continue on the path of creating a convenience store here according to our new ordinance. But this is again the property as it is today. And again, so with that, staff recommends approval of the condition modification. And unless there's questions from the board at this point, I'll ask Mr. Jerry Washington as applicant to approach the podium.
I'd like to read my letter of intent that I had, please. In 2009, I came before this board requesting a zoning change on property located at 6980 Kennedy Bridge Road and register from Ag 5 to General Commercial. But to the best of my knowledge, the request was granted other than the commissioner representing the county as what I consider not applying for alcohol beverage license for a condition of the zoning change request. I'm mistaken about it was a mistake on my behalf to agree to this condition because I wasn't applying for alcohol beverage license. At that time, I didn't think of the disadvantage this condition would place on me. It handicaps me from operating my business at its full potential, which could lead to a revenue and business loss. As a law-abiding citizen and lifetime resident of Bulloch County, I should have the right to apply for alcohol beverage license if I choose to do so. And this wouldn't affect any property value in the community. And I will work with any church that's in the community to coincide together. Thank you.
Okay, so you can have a seat.
We have Pastor Judy McCrary signed up. In opposition?
Good evening to all in your respective places. I'm Pastor Judy McCrary, and my church is right there on Kennedy Bridge Road, 7101 Kennedy Bridge Road, the Ada Bell Church of God. And I heard, no disrespect, Mr. Washington, while I oppose that, we're trying to clean up our neighborhood, and mostly senior citizens live there. That would be like setting a honeycomb and open up a box of bees. I've lived there on Dink Station Road. This particular place been opened up several times. Nothing but a trap. We don't need that in our community. Now, if you're going to have a convenience store, yes. But talking about applying for wine and alcohol, beer, whatever, I don't think so. No offense, sir. No. I don't know where the other pastors, there's 3 other churches up there. New Hope, New Bethlehem. Where are they? As I recall, I was born and raised in Bulloch County, out there in a little community called Register, Georgia. This used to be a dry county. But now every corner you turn and look, there's alcohol. What is it? What is it? What happened to our morals? I know I wasn't supposed to say that, but it bothers me. And we are growing like crazy. The more we grow, the more the crime. And we're a little community out there trying to do what's right. We just don't need that. We don't need no. You said you would work with me. Any of the churches out there, I see I'm the only one representing the Ada Bell Church of God. And it's a senior citizen community. We don't need that, sir. We don't need that. I'm sorry. We just don't need that. And Mr. Russian know me. I know his mom. I know his dad. I knew his grandmother, his granddaddy. Good people. We just don't need that. Mr. Simmons, we need to talk. I'm up here representing my community. We has been forgot about. You see, I wore my work clothes. I'm a school bus monitor. Y'all, please, I have to say it. We have some terrible, terrible roads. We hold precious possessions on our school buses. I'm a monitor. We got to do better. I know we want to have the best lawns on golf course. I know we want to have the best restaurants. I know we want to have the best motels and places for cars. And what about our precious children going to school on these dirt roads? Bridges are washed out. I was on that last year when the storm came through and washed out the road. I was on that bus over on St. Hole Road. The water coming, and my driver, she panicked. We panicked. I said, "But come on back, baby. This one time we got to trust God to make this bus up out of here." She did it. All I'm saying, look at your rural people. We have been forgotten. I'm saying what some of us is afraid to say. We live in the rural areas. All of us got some bad roads and bad conditions, and it's sad. We want to fix up the front part, but look at us who live in the rural area. I used to live out there, but I moved in town. But I work out there with my babies on the school buses. But out there where I serve the Lord and go to church is senior citizen, Mr. Bennett. And I love you, Mr. Washington. And like I said, several tries of being out there. It don't work. God bless you all. And pray for our United States of America, especially for our president. God bless you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Washington, if you'd like to make a rebuttal, you're more than welcome.
Yes, sir, I do.
In respect to Ms. McCleary, I'm not applying for alcohol beverage license here today. I'm applying for a condition change. And besides, we are not going to be a club atmosphere there. It's going to be a package store and a convenience store, just like all the other ones that you see now around and about in Bulloch County and around areas. Our hours would be from 9 o'clock a.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. We're not opening on Sundays. We're not going to interfere with any church services. And when it's convenience store, it would be 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock on Sundays if we open it. And plus, when you're talking about the community, with my program with the water system, I have their plus looking store. We are going to give back to the community. Right now, my water system, we give each church. Miss McCleary knows they don't even pay a water bill. This can be part of what I'm doing for the community. This the bill in here will also contribute to the elderly people in the community. We're going to provide transport to help the community elderly. So we are not just going to be in the community just as a negative. We're going to be a plus to the community. We are not. We want to coincide with every. Matter of fact, the Ada Bear Church of God is 700 foot from the steps of the Ada Bear Church of God to my store. It's 700 feet from that church. New Hope Baptist Church is over 1,500 foot. The New Bethel church is over 2,000 feet. So we are not, and then we're not opening on Sundays. Anytime they have service, we're not going to interfere with any of the church services. So when Ms. McCleary says that we are going to be a negative influence to the community, I strongly disagree. We're trying to bring a positive atmosphere there to build New Hope up, not to tear New Hope down. Thank you, sir.
Any discussion from commissioners?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Washington a question. How far is the convenience store right there off of 46? 46 from your store.
46?
Yeah.
Highway Georgia 46? 2.5 miles.
Okay, so it's already a store up there.
There are a store there, and they're building a restaurant there.
That's a restaurant. These stores, they already sell alcohol?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question just
Yes, sir.
for clarification? Because the alcohol ordinance says you can't sell alcohol within 100 yards of a church. And I think that means, at least with regard to beer and wine, the church property. So are you, I know you called out some distances a minute ago, but are
700 foot
you from the church building or the church property?
from the church entrance. If you talking about the entrance from the church on their lane from Dent Station Road, that's
Right.
further from my store. It's 312 feet.
Okay, well, I think it would be from their property. So whatever the closest
Yeah, their
point
property
of
would
their
be
property,
312 feet.
312 feet.
That's from Dent Station Road. And if you go from my property to the church property, it'd be about 400 foot.
Okay, well, I would, obviously 300 feet. If it's 100 yards, it's got to be at least 300 feet. So as long as he meets that would meet the requirements of the alcohol ordinance and state law, which is what the ordinance is based on. So.
One more question, Mr. Washington. Have you talked to the community out there? Besides, have you had any communication with the whole community out there about
Yes.
what you're doing? And
Yes.
okay.
90%. We discussed it. Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Ms. Dakins, do we need to verify that distance?
Well, that would have to be verified when and if he applied for an alcohol license. Yes.
That's the question I wanted to ask you. I mean, he's asking to lift a variance. He isn't asking for an alcohol license.
Yeah,
That's right.
That'll come back before us whether we grant it.
I don't know what did the condition say, James? Exactly.
I don't know, but to give you a
Sell
history.
alcohol?
Give you a history on this building. Edwin Parker Akins built that building back in the early 70s, the best I remember, and it was done for a store several times. I mean, I had never known it to have an alcohol license, but I think alcohol didn't come into Bulloch County until 1980, I believe. My daddy was the second one to buy alcohol license, him and Morris Lupton, such reason. And my daddy owned that store that they told me I didn't register. But now, when it gets to the alcohol license, then we can verify every bit of that. If we lift this off of that piece of property, that doesn't mean it's going to sell alcohol. That just means he'll be able to apply for it. And then if it doesn't meet the guidelines of and I don't know, and I ain't clear on, you the lawyer, but I ain't clear, and that's been tried at me several times. It ain't real clear whether it's from entrance of property to entrance of property. I know that was a big thing when I was in the business. And because of the kitchen's corner out there, because of that church, and they measured from the entrance to the entrance, not the property line to the property line. So, but that'll all be handled if and when it's applied for a beer and wine license or whatever.
I'm not sure that's
So
the way the language is. Now, if it's distilled spirits, liquor, it's from a church building.
Yeah, now I've never owned a liquor
Wine
license.
and beer,
So I
it just
own beer
says
and wine
from a
license.
church. Now, I would interpret that to mean the church property.
Like I say, I've never been in the distilled spirit business. I have been in the beer and wine business.
That's the way we've always interpreted it, I think.
So, to answer your question, the condition read no alcoholic beverages to be sold on the premises. And so, what I would add to what you were just mentioning, when they apply for a beer and wine license, we'd have to have a proximity survey done by a surveyor, in which they would follow the law at that time. Now, what that law is, we'd have to discuss without reading it. I can't tell you, but
And I think it's as the crow flies. It's not. The state used to measure it. I don't think they do anymore. They used to measure it from entrance they'd go out, from the entrance to the sidewalk or whatever, the road, and then come down. And what that resulted in is depending on how far back the buildings were, you could have them right next door to each other. We never interpreted it that way on the local ordinance. We were more restricted. And I think the state has adopted the interpretation that Bulloch County has always used so it's measured like if you're measuring to a building, you don't come out to the street and then go over. You measure in a straight line
So,
as the crow flies, which
so
creates more of a distance.
we're not here to discuss beer and wine license anyway, are we? We're just here to discuss the changing of the zoning, right?
That's correct.
It's been my experience in the years when someone applies for the beer and wine license, it always comes back to the commissioners on our agenda. So, but we're not here to discuss beer and wine license.
That's right.
We're here to discuss the changing of the zoning.
That's right. But if he applied for a beer and wine license, as James said, they would require a survey, and if it didn't meet the distance requirements, it wouldn't get to you. They would reject the application because it's that's required by state law, so we have to go by that.
Okay.
So before we go any further, I got to correct a mistake I made. Pastor McCrary, I owe you an apology because we skipped over you. You still have some time on the clock if you'd like to make a rebuttal.
Thank you so much. Like I was saying, when I made the illustration about the honey and the bees, it might not be referring to the wine and liquor. When you put a place like that, it's going to draw people, whether you're selling it or not. People just want somewhere to come. And that's too mostly what I was talking about. And that's what happened. When I said you put the honey and the bees, you put the honey there, the bees gonna come. Whether he's selling or not. We don't need no trouble. And thank you, sir, for that. Wanting to put a convenience store there. All I'm saying, we don't need no more trouble. No. That's all I was saying, sir. My understanding, I know he had put in for years ago, whatever. I didn't attend that. But all I was saying, if you open up something there, they coming. I lived there before. I know it was a lot of trouble there before. Now it is my business concerning the community. I want to take care of the people in the community. I do. Because like I said, senior citizens live there. And people will come all the way from town after hours. Just find somewhere to hang out. Might be a convenience store. That's all I was saying, sir. And I just thank y'all for your time. And I have to say what I feel, sir. Mr. Connor, I have to say it. Mr. Newkirk, I have to say it. Miss Nancy, I have to say it. Mr. Bennett, Mr. Simmons, I have to say it. Mr. Davis, I have to say it. I have to say it. Speaking out for the people, not only my community, but other communities. And like I said, I was born and reared right here in the Bulloch County. My father worked for Mr. Ray Henley for years. Y'all probably knew my brother. He was a wrestler, Bearcat Wilkinson. That was my brother. I'm his baby sister. Right here in Bulloch County. But I know trouble when I see it. And y'all too. And I said earlier, a trap. Not nothing he planning, but other people will take advantage of your property. And I know this. I live right behind. I lived on 2133 Dink Station Road. I lived there for 20-something years. Same little building. I know. I just want to be safe. Just want to be safe. And I thank you. And like I said, no offense, Mr. Washington. And I wish you well. I just wish you well. Look. You know what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you for the extra time. Thank you.
Mr. Washington, do he have any more time?
Dallas, you have any more time left? 37. Mr. Washington, you've still got some time left. If you've got anything else you want to say.
Just have one thing I want to say, and I'm gonna be all I have to say. I'd like to ask Miss McCleary or anyone else, how have in the past, if this business have caused a hardship to them, what do they have any documentation would indicate that they was harmed by this particular business? And Miss McCleary is still trying to color this business as a club atmosphere. This is not going to be a club atmosphere. It's just like any other business in Bulloch County and surrounding areas, a convenience store that sells beer and wine. Matter of fact, most stores now that open sells beer and wine. If this building would going to affect Miss McCleary out there, it must affect her when she go in Food World, Buy Lowe's, any one of the supermarkets, any one of the stores that she may shop at. She's going to find beer and wine. Beer and wine is not going to affect anyone's way of life if they choose not. And this would not affect Miss McCleary's way of life. If it would affect anyone in the community and place them adversely, it would harm their way of living and the churches. If it's going to affect the church services or whatever, they must have that documentation we indicate that have did it in the past, as well as would it do it in the future. I'm just wanting to make a living at my business there, and it's not, but characterizing it for a club atmosphere, I think is a little unjust to me. This is not a club atmosphere. It's just a convenience store like hundreds that you see every day. It's a package. It's not going to be sit on site there drinking or nothing like that. It's good. Come get it and leave. Just like every other store that you see mainly with package retail. Thank you.
One more thing. Again, we're here to not talk about packaged beer and all that stuff. We're here to talk about a zoning change. And that's my point.
And I do want to clarify that this is just the zoning change, and in order to get a beer and wine license, that's another step that you would have to apply for. So yes, it is.
And I would like to say that, again, we're not talking about beer and wine license, but the property has a condition on it. I don't know what Mr. Washington's plans are. I guess he does. But any property with a condition on it hinders the sale of it for it to change hands. Oh, just because it's got a condition on it. And if it doesn't have the condition on it, then it doesn't hinder anybody to buy it or whatever they want to do with it. Now, we can revisit the alcohol part of it later when it's applied for. I feel like we're getting way too far ahead of it.
Yeah.
But that's all I'm going to say about that.
Do we have any more discussion on this issue from the board? If there's no further discussion, I'm going to ask for a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we lift a condition. Doesn't have anything to do with the alcohol. Lift a condition off of the property.
Mr. Davis. All in favor? We have a unanimous decision. Mr. Pope.
All right, agenda item number 3 tonight is a rezone request. Barbara Berry, who's administrator for Edward Braddock, as which she has applied to rezone 7.21 acres from Ag 5, agricultural 5 acres, to an R2, two-family residential, for the purpose of creating a subdivision which would consist of two-family residences, or otherwise duplex structures. The property is located at 2012 Cody Lane. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with the conditions by 5-0 vote. And staff recommends approval of the rezone request. And we have a few conditions that are recommended if approval is granted. All right, general location, as you can see here, located southeast of Statesboro, between Statesboro and Brooklet. If you go, Cody Lane is south of US 80. So at the north part of Cody Lane, you run into US 80. Just this yellow line on Spears Lane, that's the Brooklet city limits. So very near the city of Brooklet. At the very end of Cody Lane is this property. Again, as you can see, it's currently zoned Ag 5. Nearby properties around it are Ag 5. However, there are two subdivisions with two-family residential structures within that subdivision. So there's various zoning parcels along Cody Lane. Just to the south, you see the narrow parcel there. That's owned by the Bulloch County Board of Commissioners. That would be the greenway, or right-of-way that would be for the greenway. This is the site plan that was provided by the applicant. And as you can see, the creation of the subdivision would have access to the trail or any future trail extension. But it would closely mirror what was currently in place just to the north of this proposed property. Again, those are duplex structures, very similar in size, just to the north. As you can see, this is Cody Lane viewing north from the cul-de-sac that's currently there at the very end of Cody Lane. Those subdivision, or the duplex subdivisions, are just to the right in that photo. This is a neighboring property looking to the south, southwest. The tree line would be the property line where the trail is. This structure is on the property currently. There's one or two structures on the parcel, but this is the view from the cul-de-sac looking back to where into the subdivision where the where the residence area would start. And with that, I'll go back to the zoning map so you can. Actually, I'll go there. And I believe Miss Berry's daughter is here tonight to represent her. Right. Yeah. So, ma'am, I forgot your name. Amy.
It's my sister too.
Oh, okay, sister. Sorry.
Hi.
So this is Amy, who is sister to the applicant, Miss Barbara Berry.
Can you give us your last name for the record, please?
Kish.
Okay.
Kish.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm just here representing the property. We're wanting to make it a subdivision. Just if you were to, there's two subdivisions right in front of it also, and I think that'd be a perfect area. Dead end road, be good for kids and families. Just think it's a good property. That's.
Anything else you want to tell us?
No, I don't think so.
There's no one signed for opposition, so Commissioners have any questions or discussion at this time?
Are you gonna have any issue with the, was it condition number 2? The development shall include a pedestrian access to the S&S Greenway?
we're
Y'all
not
are
gonna
okay
have
with
any
that?
issue.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions, discussion? I'm going to call for a motion then.
Motion to approve with conditions.
All in favor? We have unanimous decision in favor. You're good to
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Post, you were up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 4 tonight is a rezone request by Roy Otwell and Carolyn Harless, who applied to rezone 162 acres from an R80 with condition zoning to an agricultural 5-acre zoning, which would be for the purpose of creating a subdivision. The property is located on Lotch Creek Road. Since the request was filed, the property has been sold, but the new owner has assumed the application for the rezoning, and he is here tonight, and also represented by Mr. John Dotson, who filed on behalf of the original property owner. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with conditions by a 5-0 vote, and then staff recommends approval of the rezone request with a condition. The property is located on the west side of Statesboro, west side of the county, almost to the county line. The parcel in this photo actually doesn't show all the tax parcels to be included, but it's what's shown there outlined in blue, and then what goes up to Lotch Creek Road, all that in purple. Generally bounded by Brandon Lake Road to the east, which maybe this makes it a little clearer. This is the site plan that's provided by the applicant, and when the description says for the purpose of creating a subdivision, however, the term subdivision may not necessarily apply with the ability to create these lots. Would not be a planning and zoning subdivision, a formal subdivision. So Brandon Lake Road is a county maintained paved road in which with a street frontage available to the lot owner at 5 acres, they could, trade it or subdivide that property with that road frontage. But this is the proposed sketch plan for the property, in which if they did that under this, as it was approved, then that wouldn't necessarily involve planning and zoning action. Currently, the conditions on the property at the time it was zoned R80, those conditions stated that there was to be no access onto Brandon Lake Road. It was, I believe, in 2018 when the property was zoned to R80, in which their proposal was vastly different than what is being proposed here. It was the entire track in R80 lots with some access to Brandon Lake. However, that concept is not, I guess, really viable today with some limited access to Brandon Lake. But nonetheless, let's say I have some photos. This is on Lotch Creek Road, and so you can see, the general area is agricultural, rural area of Bulloch County, and this would be the, I guess, again, the road frontage along Lotch Creek. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. John Dotson, who is the agent representative for this case.
Thank you, Mr. Pope, commissioners, for the opportunity to come before you. The gentleman, the current owner of the property now is Mr. Tim Redding, and he is in the audience. The reason this is an odd shaped piece of property is when it was rezoned for an R80, we got as many lots as we could, and we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 to 90 R80 lots. We're going to be on this 160 acres. As the plan is now, there'll be 15 to 16 lots that vary in size from 5 acres to about 80 acres. Mr. Redding and his wife is planning on building a new residence here. And as it arises, if people would like to purchase any of the lots along Brandon Lake Road or Lots Creek Road, he's interested in selling. So that being said, the biggest thing is these lots now will have direct access to Brandon Lake Road. We have showed 10 lots at front on it, whereas before there was some 25 lots. But each property will have its own well, its own septic tank, be self-contained. Now, this is not for farming. This is not for a chicken house or a hog parlor, which Cal Main is across the creek, but these will be for homes comparable in size to the existing homes along Brandon Lake Road. The property will have covenants on it to protect Tim's property and Tim's clients, as well as the people that are on Brandon Lake. That's about all I can say. Tim may have something to add, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that y'all may have. Thank you.
Good afternoon, evening, whichever one falls in. Appreciate your time and sacrifice to the county and for giving us this opportunity. My wife and I, we decided, I was in Candler County about 34 years. I opened a business or bought a business over there, a Ford dealership. Over the years, I bought several more, and my children are trying to run them and run me out. But I'm welcoming a little bit of a retirement time. We have 10 grandchildren, 8 of which live in Bulloch County. And so we find ourselves over here quite a bit. They're all pretty healthy and very active. So Kathy and I, we wanted to be closer to them, a little easier for babysitting and things like that, as well as we've been going. I've been a member of First Baptist for many years before, when John Waters, Dr. Waters, been knowing him for a long time, but loved his preaching. So came over and joined, and we catch ourselves eating over here, going to grocery shop over here, and then of course babysitting over here. So it's just a time that we're ready. And plus I got a 3-story house, and like I told the contractors, if they could build me a house I could walk down in and walk down out of, that's the one I want. It's single story. So we're going to build us a home over here that'll be 1 story and enjoy the life and be close to our family. So we hope that and we look forward to being citizens of Bulloch County. Thank you.
Any questions or discussion from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
With condition.
With conditions. Okay. All in favor? Got a unanimous decision in favor with conditions. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman, may I proceed?
Sure.
Okay. Agenda item 5 tonight is a conditional use request by Nikki Grant, who has applied for a conditional use of 5 acres to establish a daycare facility. The undeveloped property is located in the 300 block of Simons Road. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with the conditions by a 5-0 vote. And then staff recommends a denial of the conditional use request. However, we do recommend, if the approval is granted, we do recommend some conditions. And those are in the staff report. The current zoning for the property is an R40 zoning, so it is a residential parcel and neighborhood. of which conditional use is available in a residential R40 zoning. This is the general location of the property. It's in the northeast portion of Bulloch County. Simon's Road, if I were to zoom out, if you follow that just to the northeast, that would be Miller Street Extension. Follow Simon's Road on to Highway 25, comes out near William James Middle School. As you see the property here highlighted in blue, it is a 5-acre tract, but again, zone R40. And the property to the south, as you see, is zone Ag 5. However, it's accessed through a different roadway. So this is a cul-de-sac with a turnaround at the end. So this subdivision, fits in with the residential character of the area. This is the sketch plan that was provided by the applicant, in which the proposed building, and as stated in the letter of intent by the applicant, is about a 40 by 80 structure. And the conditions by staff attempt to require some, because it is in a residential area, residential properties, housing, to serve 40 kids. Felt like if it were to go there, have some character features of a residential feel. So not necessarily to take away from the residential character of the area. This is a photo from the property along Simon's Road. Just around the curve there, that would be where the cul-de-sac to turn around. This views is to the east, back towards Miller Street Extension. And this is the property directly across Simon's Road. And this is looking into the property. So it's currently undeveloped. And so it is, a large lot, 5 acres for an R40 zoning. So there is some landscape buffer, natural buffer on the property as well. So with that in consideration, we've tendered some recommendations by staff. So with that, I'll ask Ms. Grant if she can approach the podium.
I'm just here today, just requesting a conditional use for daycare on Simmons Road.
What can you tell us about your daycare?
I want to do at least 40 kids. That's the max. It could be less than that. Operational times would be from 6:30 to 6:30. I have a way to exit in and a way to exit out. And I've also read the conditional uses that they gave me, and I go by those as well.
You agree with the conditions?
Yes, sir, I do.
Ms. Grant, I would like to ask you, just to state for the record, what age children are you planning on keeping?
My age is going to range from 6 weeks to 12 years old. I'll do some after school care as well. So 12, age of 12.
The main reason for that, I know you wouldn't do this, but we have had some people that would take advantage of that and start keeping people kind of like a halfway house, and it caused the commissioners a lot of problems with that. So just wanted to make sure that they were children you were going to keep.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This is in a residential subdivision?
It is.
Okay. How did you happen to choose this out of another location? Just curiosity.
Actually, we bought the property on last year, and I'm also a business owner as well. I have a boys' home, So I just decided to use the property for a daycare.
Mr. Chairman, are you aware of all 11 conditions
Yes,
the
sir.
staff has proposed?
Yes, sir.
And you're willing to apply?
Yes, sir.
Anything else you'd like to add, ma'am?
No, sir. That's it. Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions from the board? There's no opposition that's signed up to speak, so at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman, with conditions.
All in favor with conditions? We have a unanimous decision with conditions to approve.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, item number 6 tonight is a conditional use request. Mr. Manpreet Singh, who is agent for AM PM Convenience Stores Incorporated, has submitted a request for the conditional use of operating a drive-through facility. The property is located at US Highway 1 or US Highway 80 and Burkhalter Road. As just described, this property is located at the corner of 80 and Burkhalter on the north portion of that intersection. As shown here with the zoning map, it is a highway commercial property, of which the area that's being proposed would mostly front the Highway 80 and Burkhalter intersection, with the majority, well, which would take up 6 acres of the property. The western portion, as shown on the site map, the portion back towards Statesboro, would just be reserved for future development by the developer. This is, again, the site map that's being shown by the applicant. The truck stop facility, it is a permitted use in our zoning. This site plan may have to be adjusted at a later date with some proposed retail in the north portion as shown on the map, because there is a portion of the property zone R80, so that may have to be reconfigured. But taking that away, but going, I guess, looking at the convenience store portion, I don't have a good way to show it, but the drive-through facility, as shown on the screen, would be to the left of the convenience store. So essentially, a restaurant would take up half of the convenience store footprint, and as shown here, it's got plenty of vehicle stacking lane there, so, and parking. Common concerns with drive-through facilities may be noise and adjacent property owners' visual effects, but with the property owners owning the portion to the west and the noise in highway commercial zone, with all that in consideration, staff recommends approval of the conditional use request, and Planning and Zoning Commission again voted to recommend approval by a 5-0 vote. The freight, or well, the truck stop facility, while it is a permitted use, the drive-through facility would be separate, so that's why he's here today. But they'll then have to go back to Planning and Zoning to formally get approval for this plan. So the driveway entrances and exits, that would have to be, I guess, shored up prior to taking it to Planning and Zoning Commission for that development. We have been in contact with DOT about the access and the turn lane from 80 and where that needs to go. We're also talking with the applicant about a traffic study. So we would have that prior to when they go to planning and zoning for the creation of the development. But for the drive-through facility, we did not, that specific use would not create the traffic counts that we would anticipate for a traffic study. So for tonight, we don't, there's not a traffic study to point to. And then also to mention the adjacent property just to the north along Burkhalter Road, it was recently approved for a PUD, and they anticipate having water and sewer being built out from the city of Statesboro down this way. So this facility would be served by water and sewer. At least that's the plan. But however, there's enough room there that for the property that if it needed to have a well and septic tank, it could. This is the property as it currently is. It's looking back towards Statesboro along 80. This is the intersection at 80 and Burkhalter. And this is, I guess, further north on Burkhalter, looking back to the intersection and back along Burkhalter. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. Mr. Singh, are you here? Okay, well, I don't know whatever the board would like to do on that one, if Bird or not.
I can tell you the way we usually handle something like this, that because of a conflict that some people get their dates mixed up. If there isn't anybody here to represent it, we usually table it and give them one more chance to be here. And then if they're not here to represent it, we usually don't pass it, because if it don't mean no more to them than that, then it don't mean more to us than that. So with that, if I'm not out of turn, Mr. Chairman.
You have a motion to table this? Well, we do have opposition here available.
Do we want to listen to that or just go ahead and what do y'all typically do?
Ma'am, if you'd like to come up and speak. Better go ahead.
But I will say, Mr. Russian is right. They're not here to say it, but we can.
Good evening. My name is Josephine Hutchins, and I live a half a mile from the corner of Burkhalter and 80. And thinking about a truck stop on my corner, I looked it up and seen what the potential adverse effects would be in my community. And it's health effects from the diesel exhaust, release from benzene and harmful compounds, excessive truck traffic in neighborhood streets, disturbing noise and levels of noise, and property value decline. Also, that's just some of the bad things, the negative things. Also, they're looking at this Bulloch County departmental review. And on number 4, it's no screening is required for development by ordinances. We're talking about screening. Is that barriers? If you put barriers on the corner of 80 and Burkhalter, that's going to change the whole look of that community. Having a truck stop changes a community. Also, truck stops brings crime. It brings trafficking. It brings prostitution. It brings drugs. And it brings a lot of adverse people. Our community is a quiet, safe community. And having a truck stop on that corner is not going to improve the community. It will have a blight on our community. So I definitely oppose that for change in ordinances for that area.
Thank you, ma'am. So since the The owner is not here. We're going to go ahead and, do I have a motion to table this?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. You got a unanimous decision to table this until our next zoning meeting.
All right. Commissioners, item 7 tonight is a rezone request by Birdsong, Birdsong Corporation, who has submitted an application to rezone approximately 10 acres from an Ag 5 zoning to a heavy industrial zoning for the purpose of warehousing and storage. The property is located at 3999 Brooklet Leafield Road. Mr. David Rushing will be acting as agent for this case. All right, so general location, but it's between Brooklet and Leafield, along Brooklet Leafield Road. I think Cleto Road is also the at that intersection. Birdsong Peanuts, as I'll generally reference them, is a business currently in operation as a peanut warehouse. Without knowing all the intricate details of how a peanut operation works, I'll just say a peanut warehouse, but buying point or whatnot. But the property that is being considered for rezoning to the heavy industrial is this portion here, the 10 acres that surrounds the current operation. The heavy industrial zoning was suggested so that it would match what the other portion already is. The applicant has stated that the corporation intends to build another warehouse, as shown here. Most of the property, or most of the warehouse, will be built on currently zoned heavy industrial property, but it would carry over into the adjacent, into this parcel that's being requested for rezoning. But this is a site plan that was shown by the applicant, and then this was one in a little more detail. It's my understanding it would look pretty much same as what's already there, in which you see here. This is I guess the very north portion of the property, looking back towards Brooklet Leafield Road. This is the adjacent property looking north. Cleto Road is just to the left along that way. And so, again, these photos just to illustrate kind of what the location of where they're proposing and what the current use looks like. Because the application came in for the purpose of warehousing and storage, staff recommends conditions, or one condition that would limit the use for the 10 acres to warehousing and storage and wholesale operations. We do recommend approval with those conditions, and then Planning and Zoning Commission recommended an approval with conditions by 5-0 vote. And so, in doing a little bit of research for operations of peanut warehouses, there is a portion of taking the seed from the field to the warehouse that sometimes you have to, impact that seed to dry it, and the conditions would limit that operation. So, just on the 10 acres, you'd be limiting to the warehousing and storage and wholesale. So, no manufacturing on the 10 acres. So, with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. David Rushing.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Like Mr. James said, we intend to build a farmer stock peanut warehouse. As he said, we're going to use very little of that 10 acres, mere feet of it. And we are aware of the conditions. And we don't mind the conditions as long as we can continue to do business on that 10 acres, just like we do on the adjacent 23 acres that we currently own and have been doing business on since 2011. And prior to that, the previous owner since 1990.
The new warehouse is going to be basically about the same size that's already there, or bigger, or
It's going to be about 100 foot bigger.
100 foot bigger. Okay. And drying, is it called drying racks, or what? Is it? None of those. They're just warehouse only.
The current, what we're asking for right now is only for the warehouse.
Okay.
Now, that might be adding other assets later, could happen later, but what we're currently dealing with now is the warehouse. But like I said, we would like to operate like we do previously,
Okay.
or like we do currently.
Gotcha.
Not a question for you, Mr. Rushing, but a question for Mr. James Pope. Now, clarify them conditions now. I mean, if we're going to grant him a right to run a peanut buying point, then he's going to have dryers during a wet year. So if the conditions is stating that he can't run dryers, then I need to know if I need to make a motion to lift that condition or not, because I don't want it leave tangled up in no mess to where he has to go out and set up temporary dryers one year, and then everybody says you can't dry peanuts at a peanut drying place. So if it's going to be a peanut drying, peanut buying point, then it needs to be a peanut drying, peanut buying point. I mean, it don't need to get muddied up to where he's got to run back up here needing some dryers to be set up. I mean, if it's going to, do you understand? Do we need to lift the condition, or can you make it make sense of what I'm trying to say?
Commissioner Rushing, I believe I understand what you're saying is that a buying point is a buying point, and dryers are part of the operation. The condition was placed on there for, if you look at the permitted uses in a heavy industrial zoning, it really is, I mean, well, the expectations of heavy industrial zoning could mean a lot of different things and allow a lot of different things by ordinance, just by permitted right. So, if the corporation were to sell that property in the future, then there's, consideration for adjacent property owners that, do they have a scrapyard next to it in 20 years and that sort of thing. So by limiting it to warehouse and storage and wholesale operations, that was really the intent, was to restrict what could go on there in the future if at some point this current operation goes away. But with the question coming up as far as the dryers, I think I would interpret it again as a manufacturing process, that you're impacting the peanuts mechanically to prior to going to storage. So that would be a light manufacturing use. So, I mean, I don't
Dumb
know
that
what
way
you,
down for me now. Can he dry his peanuts at this place or not?
he could
Not, I'm gonna make a motion to lift the condition. I mean, that's where we go.
he could continue to dry the peanuts on the parcels that are currently set up to do that. There's no conditions on the other however many acres, not the 10 acres. But if we place this condition on the property, I would say that he would need to come back to, or in some way add a condition to allow light manufacturing. But without that being the request.
But this condition is not on the first parcel.
It's not on the other two parcels. Actually,
I mean, it could very well be a wrecking yard then too. I mean, if we boil it down to that,
it could be.
Okay, I think you've answered.
I mean, any permitted use in heavy industrial.
Right, thank you.
Could we add that, as far as just take it, just instead of doing away with it? We don't want it to be a wrecking yard. We want it to be a buy point. I don't want those citizens to have to deal with a wrecking yard. But can we add that to the condition where he can use this property as add to light industrial condition now. Yeah, it just as long as it stays with peanuts. Just like the previous condition keeps it from getting out anything but peanut harvest or peanut storage.
I mean, that's certainly within the power of the Board of Commissioners. If you wanted to, that's at the board's pleasure. So however you want to.
I mean, my suggestion, if that's what you want to do, how would you describe the current operation? What is it? Because you can just change the principal use for the parcel shall be limited to.
There you go.
What?
Peanut buying point with, as long as he can drive peanuts, that's all I care about. If it's going to be a peanut drying place.
Anything in operation of peanut buying. It's pretty simple. You just take it off.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And on the rest of it anyway.
I mean, the junkyard's not going to buy the fight for the back 10 acres because I mean, it's all just a jagged piece of property.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Absolutely.
I sold Ogeechee Peanut, the 10 acres, for the purpose of building a warehouse. I own property on one side. My wife and her two sisters and her brother own the property on the other side. And my father-in-law, which is my wife's father, owns property on the other side. So in voting on this, I'm going to excuse myself because to avoid a conflict of interest. But when I sold the land, it was for a warehouse. Now, they have dryers that are very loud. Now, this warehouse, the dryers, the fans on it won't be very loud. Is that correct, David?
That's correct.
So the noise is not a problem at that point. But now I think out of consideration to the family, putting the dryers closer to their residence would not, make the noise louder. But it's a peanut buying point, and that's all I got to say, I guess.
Or are you able to dry the peanuts with the facilities you already have?
Yes, sir. We currently have 52 semi-drying.
So you don't really need to have dryers on this property.
Well, no, but I think what the commissioners are saying in the future, we want to add dryers, just like that's on the other 23 acres. These conditions prohibit that.
You could come back and ask for a condition modification, which we saw an example of earlier tonight. But I mean, it's totally up to the commissioners, whatever they want to do.
Can we just make this to where we say that we do not have any opposition to this? Can we just simply state, and I'm asking Mr. Pope and the parliamentarian down here, that operations will be limited to a peanut buying point, and will that cover all our bases?
Well, we don't have a definition for peanut buying point as a land use in our ordinance. So I think if you wanted to just extend the current operation to this property, I mean, I guess you could just state that. I don't know, Jeff, you might have to wordsmith it, but just for just a general statement, extending like operations from a peanut buying point as operated currently or something, to include, I guess, dryers is what they're called.
Yeah, I guess you could say the principal use of the parcel should be limited to a peanut buying point operation in the same manner as conducted on the adjacent property. It's always dangerous to try to write conditions in a meeting, unless you're just tweaking it. But
Mr.
I
Chairman,
mean, you
could
could
you
say
call
that,
for,
I guess. And,
could you call for a motion? Let me make one, see if it flies. And if it does, then we'll be through with this. And if not, we can talk about it till whenever.
Absolutely. Do we have a motion?
I do have a motion. I'd like to make the motion that it is to be a peanut vine facility without the condition.
okay, but that's the condition, right? That it's limited to a peanut buying facility.
Without the condition, yes.
Well,
Oh, let me see what it says.
okay. I think I would just say peanut buying facility because
Rezone.
that is the condition.
I make a motion that we accept the rezoning without the condition.
Without any conditions?
What?
You're not going to limit it to a peanut buying facility?
I'm not. The other ain't,
Okay, so you're making a motion to approve it without any conditions.
It didn't have but that one, right? Yes, but you're right. I mean, if they sell the other part for a junkyard, you're gonna have a junkyard. I mean, you just have a few more acres behind it there. I mean, it didn't, but I don't think it'll ever come down to that, but
Okay, just want to make sure we all understood.
that's my motion, so he can have a peanut vine. That's it.
You have a second? All right. All in favor? We've got a unanimous decision without conditions. You're good to go.
Thank y'all.
Is that all of our? No? Okay. All right. All right. Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any discussion or modification desired by the county manager or the board? Okay. 8 and 9 to new business. Is there any other items? Okay.
Technically, Mr. Chairman, that should be done when you get to the consent agenda.
All right. Well, we'll hold those until we get to the consent
Yeah.
agenda. How about that?
That's
All right. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian there. If there's no further discussion, do I have a motion? All in favor? Okay. We have unanimous decision to approve the general agenda. Okay, at this time, I will recognize those citizens who have signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and make your comments. All speakers who are recognized will be allotted 5 minutes.
We have Rob Dyberg.
My name is Rob Dyberg, 2429 Walden Way, Statesboro. I live in Pulaski Point subdivision.
Good evening.
Good evening. Some of you people may remember me before. I represent like 35 homeowners of Pulaski Point. We have a creek that runs behind our subdivision, goes through 2 cul-de-sacs, Watering Hole Court and Road and Walden Way, excuse me. We've gotten hit from the hurricanes, Debbie, and then Helen came down, added trees and obstructions to that creek. And then we got a hard rain in November, and people got flooded in the cul-de-sac and do not want to rebuild again. And I brought it to your attention, Mr. Bennett, last time. And I want to thank you, Mr. Bennett, and Mr. Newkirk and Brad and Corey and people for working with us on it. And when we left the last meeting in January, we had a better feeling about results. And actually, the 3 people affected who had their homes full of water once from Hurricane Debbie are in the process of rebuilding now based on that interest, based on your interest. So we just want to keep the focus going. I mean, Brad's been a tremendous help. He came and inspected the creek like he said he was going to, made some observations. And he also recognized that the roads in our subdivision are in a state of disrepair, which brings us back to the John Lavender situation. We don't know who to go after or who to ask to help repair the roads, but the reason why I'm here is that we want to keep things going, and we want to know if there's a plan in place. We did try to ask Brad if we should have this meeting privately, but and I respect his judgment. He's still trying to get things squared away so he could present it to us. And Mr. Newkirk's been speaking to Jeremy, so we appreciate that there's more focus on it, and we're trying to get a plan in place. But look at the weather lately, and look at the storms that's supposed to hit tonight. Every time there's a chance of rain, everybody gets upset. We don't know what to expect. And the latest development, as a matter of fact, coincidentally, Brad made us aware today, the Sheriff's Department is offering to fly a drone over the creek to inspect the creek a little bit more, and which we appreciate that. And the Corps of Engineers is still planning to look at the creek, but the only problem with that is they were supposed to be doing a hydro study, like I know what that is. I mean, with the creek, but we just don't know what the plan is, and it's happening so slowly. We just don't know what to expect. So I don't mean to sound like a hindrance or anything, but we have some of the residents out there, and we just want to keep everybody's ear and stay in the loop and make sure there's some sort of plan in place. We got the spring rains coming, and before you know it, we'll be in hurricane season again. And everybody knows the weather's getting worse every year. So that's all I have, unless anybody else in the audience has anything to remind me about. Thanks. But I do appreciate your help. I really do. I mean, if it wasn't for your show of interest, two of the people are in the audience now already started rebuilding their home. They were not willing to do it. They said, why do it if we're not going to get any help from anyone? We know FEMA has the assistance has been suspended from FEMA. So I'm asking you as representative of Pulaski Point, just we got to formulate a more positive plan that's going to happen.
Thank you.
That's all I got. I appreciate your ears.
We'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch? Okay. All right. Thank you.
I know we have I think it's a Corps meeting that we're trying to get the Army Corps coming out, and I think that's supposed to take place in the next few weeks. Okay, but the dates they sent out, I think we're over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I mean, we're just dealing with the Corps. It just takes time.
That's
so that's
great
what.
News.
Yeah.
Everyone will appreciate that.
Yeah. So that it's still in motion.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
You.
Jeremy Moy. Okay. All right. Cassandra Michael.
I haven't spoken in a while, so I'm a little nervous today for whatever reason, even though I spoke numerous times. Helene and Debbie happened in August and September 2004, 6 and 7 months ago. We have repeatedly paid a couple of companies on an emergency basis to haul materials to fix or to continue repairs, presumably for roads. Taxpayers have spent over $500,000 between Dorizo and Sand Creek hauling dirt, rock, and crusher run. At this point, it doesn't seem like an emergency. So when does emergency spending on no bid contracts end? It's also been said numerous times that Public Works is severely short-staffed, so who is actually verifying that this work is being done? Who's signing off on all of this to justify that this is still an emergency? How much more hauling of dirt, rock, and crusher run is needed for Debbie and Helene? What and where is all of this material going and being used for? We spent over $500,000, although I will mention that it is hard to tell what one of these companies is actually hauling because there are absolutely no details. No load sizes, no dates, or where material was picked up or dropped off at. The only thing on the invoice is hours for an entire week and a vague description. Dorizo, this is one invoice for them. They have multiple pages, invoices from the quarry. They have a summary of all the charges. The other company, Sand Creek, we have the agenda item from the from the staff, and then we have 2 pages. On here it says road work, hauling dirt and rock, hours, 222 hours for a total of $23,000. This is just one example of many invoices. Here's another one, just 2 pages. No details. Here's another one, 2 pages. No details. It should be standard practice to require and provide more details. And before anybody gets snippy with me, I did privately ask for more details from the county on Friday, but my email was not responded to, which is why public comment exists, because clearly that employee couldn't respond to my request prior to this meeting. The turnaround time on agendas being put out in a timely flow of questions and information given, there's a very short window. In comparison today, in a little bit, y'all are voting on a different type of hauling for Jenkins County mulch hauling. That invoice lists the dates, the names of employees apparently hauling the mulch, the load size, among other things. But like I said, no details on the Sand Creek hauling. The Jenkins County hauling in tonight's agenda packet is 32 pages of details. So many I didn't even waste my ink, my printer ink. The fact that taxpayers are spending $231,000 is a whole different issue for hauling mulch, plus the $50,000 spent for another company. Seems like a lot of money spent, taxpayer money spent to haul and dispose of mulch, but it's already been done, so there's nothing we can do about that. Also, one more item of contention I have is the debris contract. It started as $3 million, increased to $10 million, and now they want $3 million more for a total of $13 million. It started at $3 million. So I would ask, is this absolutely really necessary? Dink Butler has said before that he messed up the contract, so why are we continuing an already bad contract? For something like roads and materials where there is a no bid contract and really any other contract, the repeated submittals for payments need to have more information and more documentation. So I hope in the future that things can change moving forward with additional details. This seems more reasonable. This does not seem reasonable. I'd also ask that you think about tabling Sand Creek's payment tonight until you get additional details. After all, this isn't free money. It's still taxpayer money, whether that's coming from FEMA or taxpayers in Bulloch County. Thank you.
We have Neil Tucker.
Be hard for me to go behind Jessica, but I've talked to several of y'all about the same thing she talked about. Dose our president we got up there is looking after, I think, for the country. Maybe he needs to send Elon down here, check on what's going on in this place. 100% behind her on about this trash pickup. It's what's the government call it? Call it fraud. And if you rob a bank, y'all six got together and robbed the bank. And Timmy, you was driving, you get the same as everybody else. So that's all I got to say about it. It's from fraud. I could talk till in the morning about things that I don't like, but I'm not a taxpayer. I'm not a tax. I don't pay no taxes to nobody. I don't pay no taxes. We got one commissioner said he searched high and low to find out how much damn taxes I pay. When I come, I want to run my mouth. I don't pay no taxes, but I appreciate you, Mr. Bennett, and Newkirk. I appreciate you talking to me on a little misunderstanding. And Mr. Connor, if you have you learned anything about this? What's going on at all? You still don't know nothing. Good night.
David Reed.
Just want to remind everybody that you need to address your public comments to the chairman. Okay.
David Reed, 8098 Georgia Highway 46. Concerns I got is the trash cans. I'm going to talk to a couple commissioners and the county commissioner. They look like dumps on Mondays, Tuesdays. And 20 years ago, they took our money to, make something look good. But they look like trash dumps to me. I was kind of wondering, what the county ought to do about them. They overran Sunday by dinner time. The reddish one, St. Hole, both of them is overran. But I don't know what to do. I mean, I came up with an idea, but I don't know where it'll work or not. But I think some of my taxpayers' money ought to be better. Should have trash running over on the asphalt. People's got to take the trash out. And I'd like to know what can the county do about it. Because to me, this ought to be a health hazard. But I went there today and I went on, it was a mess this morning. It was Tuesday morning. And the county bought another truck, 6 months ago to help out? Two. Look out to me, they need to buy some trash cans. Throw some extra trash cans out there or something. The county still does rental business on trash cans. Or I like to know construction.
I don't know if it's county. We don't have a roll off. We don't have roll offs no more, do we?
Rental business.
Rental.
Yeah, we still have some rental.
Y'all might better rent yourself some trash cans. I mean, need to quit rental business and go for the county's, business first. I mean, when you can't handle the county's business, to do something.
Well, to answer part of that question, I asked the same question, and me and Dink all talked about it Monday ourselves. I don't know exactly what happened the weekend, if it was a pretty weekend or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know what it was, but it was an unusual weekend because when I left my house, I called Dink. I had actually thought that the city had shut us out of the transfer station again, but that was not the case. I made sure of that. But to answer your question, I don't have an answer to your question. I don't know exactly what happened Monday.
I mean,
but it was paid attention to. I can tell you that.
Yeah, there's more people's moving. As the counties, they've got to gear up for more people moving. Subdivision by my house is building. You got one house got 4 or 5 people trash coming out of it. Is the studies doing okay on the subdivisions? To make sure the impacts. You got enough trash cans, or I mean, I like to know the answer because I'm tell you what,
shame of somebody to come out of town and see that mess. Because it ain't no better than what it was 20 years ago on the side of the road. You remember that? Oh, I mean, it was no better. I mean, taxes ain't coming down none. That's all I got to say. But hope it gets better.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. All right, that takes care of our consent agenda. No, that was public comment. All right, before we start with our consent agenda, are there any items that we would like to move to new business?
I'd like to move number 8 and 9 to new business, please, sir.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and read through the rest of these, and then we'll just go ahead and move 8 and 9 down there because I skipped the order here. I'm supposed to read them all first. Number 1, approve the minutes from Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Approve the executive session minutes from Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Grant a 2025 alcoholic beverage license for package and retail beer and wine sales to J. Ambre, 1711 Incorporated, doing business as Borough Express, located at 9651 Highway 301 South. Approve the appointments of Denise Borick and Richard Stewart to the Bulloch County Library Board to a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2027. Approve a memorandum of understanding with Emmanuel County for a radio communication site. Approve a contract for 2025 Splash and Borough marketing and media purchases through Davis Marketing Company in the amount of $23,348. Approve a purchase of Galaxy Outdoor Electronic Message Board for Mill Creek Regional Park in the amount of $24,843. I'm going to go ahead and read these two as well. Approve payment to Jenkins County C&D landfill for mulch disposal services for January 21st, 2025 through February 12th, 2025 in the amount of $231,627.86. And number 9, approve and ratify the payment to M.W. Collins Incorporated for mulch disposal service in the amount of $50,982. We can approve these items collectively, or we can move any item to new business for further discussion. And you've already said you'd like to move number 8 and 9 to new business. Okay. So do we have a second? Okay. All in favor? Okay. We're going to move number 8 and 9 to new business, and we're going to approve the rest in the consent agenda. And we have a unanimous decision there. Okay. New business. Chief Financial Officer Christy King.
This is very simply as part of the budget process. When the budget's approved, part of that is the position control schedule that just basically allows each department to have so many positions. So in order to hire new positions within any department, we need to just amend that schedule. So that's all this is requesting, to amend the position control schedule for the fire department to add new positions.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
I got some questions. Do we know budget-wise or anything on all that yet? Or this is the first time I've had a opportunity to vote on any of this with the new fire deal, and I just want to make sure I know what I'm doing here.
I don't have the cost numbers at the moment. We're looking at some pay issues right now, but there is fund balance in the fire fund over $500,000 that will cover the cost of this between now and the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Millage rate and all that stuff. When do we get to talk about all that stuff? Is this a question that I can ask now?
New budget.
Yeah, you can ask, but I don't have any answers right now.
Okay. I'm just hesitant to approve something that we don't know if we got the money for.
So if I may, assist with answering that. This is just some positions. It doesn't have any pay tied to it at all. So before we actually offer any position, any candidates the actual position, you will have to approve the new pay. So what we've done is we've asked the company that did our last pay and compensation study for us just to look at the fire department themselves and just refresh that part of the study. We should have that back by the end of the week. And so when we get that back, at that point, Christy and Ben and I can sit down and look at, okay, how much are we going to offer each of these positions? And based on the amount that's in the budget is all that we can hire. That's it. But before we change the actual pay grades, we will need to get your approval.
Okay, so all I'm doing is just approving that we can start looking into it. But as far as hiring anybody or getting numbers nailed down, that will have to come back before us.
That's right. Yes, in order to change any pay grades. Now, if the pay study comes back and says you're already paying them what you should be, which I don't think is going to be the case, but in that instance, if they were to tell us that we were, all we would do then, I think Christy had when we were talking about the number of positions, were we including if we were just to do it the pay that we're at now when we were calculating?
Yes.
So
yeah, so if we hired all of these positions as they are currently graded and pay them what our pay schedule currently says, then we have the funds to cover that payroll through the end of the fiscal year, and the millage rate from the 2 fire districts combined would cover that for next fiscal year. So those are very rough estimates, but assuming all things equal, assuming we brought in the same amount of tax money as last year and we paid these people the same amount that we're paying them right now, that we should be able to cover them going forward.
Okay, but we still have to vote on that, right?
If the pay changes, if a new pay grade is introduced, yes, then
but if
you
not,
would.
then y'all can go ahead and hire.
Right, because we've done the calculations to show that currently we can afford what we've asked for.
Okay. Well, I think we need to discuss this a little bit more. And I don't know if this is under this, but I just got a lot of questions about millage rate and employees and et cetera, et cetera. So I really don't want to vote on something if I don't have all the details with me, especially if y'all can go ahead and hire without coming back to the board. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Obviously time is of the essence here, and
I understand that, but I also don't want to get a snowball effect. I mean, it's nothing against the fire department, no means, but I just don't want to dip into it, and there's nothing against Public Works right now, because I mean, I know they did the best at the time at the beginning, but they've also extended it, and I don't want this to turn into that. And, obviously we got FEMA that we're relying on for their money, but whenever we run out of money with the fire department, it's going to come back on tax-paying citizens, and we don't have an unlimited checkbook. So
I
I just
understand
want
and I agree. I think the part that you have to remember though is that at least 2.75 mils additional are coming in next year. So if we can afford it this year, we certainly can next year.
Yeah, I understand. I just want to make sure that we got the tax districts and all that. I mean, like when the 5 mile district, is that going to stay at the 2.75, or are we going to kick it up to the 3 mils with a tax increase?
That's a decision that you all will have to make during the budget process.
Yeah, and I might point out there's not going to be a 5 mile district. There's going to be one tax district.
Well, I realize, but the people that
outside
currently reside in the 5 mile district right now.
Yes.
They'll be paying the same millage rate as the rest of the
county.
Right,
So
but you can set that millage rate.
Currently, all those people in the 5 mile district is going to go from a 2.7 up to a 3.
That you will vote on that. So that will not.
You
have
can
to
have
be
special tax districts.
So you can have 2 different ones in the same county for the same
That's
fire.
my understanding. But I think it's a little bit of an administrative nightmare. You can have 2 separate tax districts if they wanted to, right? If they wanted to keep a portion at 2.75.
I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't recommend that. I
Those going to have some pissed off
county
citizens.
is providing fire service countywide, except for Statesboro. I think you probably need one tax district for that.
Okay. I think it's not abnormal for some places to do it that way, but it is an administrative nightmare. But if there's any questions that you want Ben or Randy Tillman to answer for you tonight, we can certainly do that. Otherwise, we can table it, but we're betting some major risks if we do that.
Yeah, I understand. I just, the more information I'm finding out about the whole fire thing, I think we need to just take a pause on it and get some more information on it. And that's where I've been meeting with everybody that I possibly can with the fire. And the numbers that I'm seeing, I feel like we just need to stop for a second and take a deep breath and figure out if this is really what we need to be doing.
I think the staff is not going to do anything that's going to be hurt the citizens or hurt the Board of Commissioners. I think they're just asking for a position just to go ahead and look into hiring these positions. I think and we're looking at a time crunch here. I don't think they're going to do anything that's going to put us in a bad position or the citizens in a bad position without coming back to us. I understand that you are looking for, you want all the answers, but I do have place a lot of confidence in the staff that we have that's working for us and not going to put us in a bad position.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I know they're not going to intentionally put us in a bad spot, but I mean, if we under budget something, we got to come back and we're going to be the ones taking the heat for a tax hike, and I'm not willing to do that. And I understand it's a time crunch, but I think because it's a time crunch, we need to take our time and do this. I mean, I just think that we're forcing this and rushing this too much right now at the last minute. And I think we need to settle down and do it, but I'm just one person. I make a motion, we table it.
Table it until when?
Table it to the next meeting.
Do we have a second? Hearing no second, I believe the motion dies.
Motion what?
I believe the motion dies.
Dies, that's correct. Yes, sir.
I make a motion we approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All opposed? Okay. Motion passes. I believe that's going to be 4-1. All right, moving forward. Assistant Public Works Director, Mr. Robert Siemens. Approve and ratify the use of Sand Creek Land and Construction for hauling services for the week of February 10th through February 14th, 2025, in the amount of $22,128.75.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to get Mr. Dink Butler to come to the podium, explain some of this truck rental and exactly what's going on to clear the air for some people.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, Chairman. Just some information on how we've gone through the process for the truck rentals. Recently, we were renting dump trucks from several different companies as they're available: Duraso, Sand Creek, Carlton Gaines, D&H Trucking. The activity started after Tropical Storm Debbie to help us with material hauling for dirt road repairs. As some of you know, these repairs lasted approximately 75 to 90 days before the second storm come through, and done more damage than the first one did. The rentals have always been focused on road repair issues and are still have numerous locations to work on. Over the years, the direction from the Board of Commission has been to use local business when possible. For instance, Sand Creek Construction, along with several others, have been very supportive of us over the last 6 to 7 years as we've needed help. These relations started years ago before some of you were ever elected to the commission seats you currently hold. So when we needed urgent help, after Tropical Storm Debbie and the Unknown Storm, November. These were the contacts that we reached out to, along with many others. Most of the contractors were not interested in assisting, with the explanation that they had all the work that they could handle. If you're not aware, construction industry in the area has been extremely busy for the last year or two. So with that, we have made use of the ones who were willing and available over the last 6 months. As to the rates of the trucking, $105 per hour for tandem dump trucks, which is the rate being paid by asphalt companies and construction companies that we're in competition for this work. The dump trailers rates on the materials and distance of the haul is figured by the tonnage. Currently hauling stone from Augusta, the rate is $25 a ton. The process is being tracked by our load for all trucks, including our own. Most all of this activity is eligible for FEMA and GEMA reimbursement at up to 85% after audit review, eligibility, and reasonable charges. I will say this from a standpoint of what was said earlier. Sand Creek's billing process per hour is tracked in-house in our office. Every truck that runs for us fills out a daily log sheet. What time they're there, how many loads they haul, where those loads go. We have to track all of that to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement. That is verified before that invoice is forwarded. There have been some adjustments made. We will be attaching all of our verification information to those invoices for Sand Creek in the future. But it has always been tracked and always verified. There is not anything here that is not done in the best interest of Bulloch County and in the best interest of the citizens of Bulloch County. I am a servant to Bulloch County. I'm a servant to the citizens of Bulloch County. And I will not, my hand to God, do anything that is not eligible and not legal and not moral. I am protecting everybody here. I don't appreciate the innuendos that we're not, but that just comes along with the service. That's my explanation, unless somebody has some questions.
Do we know roughly about how much longer we have with all this dirt hauling and all that stuff, or?
Just as it was mentioned earlier about weather conditions and changes coming, prospective storms, we're working on a project right now that we're probably going to have to put 500 loads of dirt on.
Gotcha. Okay.
on Aiden Lanier Road. We've got Deacle Road that we're waiting on information about pipe delivery to be able to go do what we had talked about to try to make that road safe and passable for the public. There's some other issues that are still out there that they're passable, but they need upgrading. At this point, no, I can't give you a definition on time. And the thing about this is, and everybody wants to talk about a bid, this is rental trucks. You don't bid out what you need from these trucks. They're available upon your request. We don't know how much we're going to need. We don't know how long it's going to last. We're making the best efforts we can for the citizens of Bulloch County to give them a service that is reasonable. And that's the best we can do. If you've got any ideas about how we can do it different, we're more than open to suggestions. We're more than open to answer questions at any time. The email that was referenced about questioning some of this, I never seen it. I don't believe Robert's seen it. I don't know where it went. I know that I've been out of the office for the last 2 weeks between vacation and being sick. I'm not going to say that it wasn't overlooked, but I've gone through every email on my list right now. I did not see any questions. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I can tell you this, because I own dump trucks, you won't get mine for $105 an hour. And you won't get nobody else if you don't get these. So, I mean, I don't really, you know, whatever. I don't know what everybody expects, but all they got to do is pick up the phone and then go to work. I mean, anywhere they want to go to work at. You better be glad you got the ones you got.
It's a competitive market out there for us to be able to get what we get. And we don't get them every day. Some days we may have 10 rental trucks, and some days we may not have but 1 or 2. As I've said before, with the shorthandedness in public works in general, in the solid waste department, with us having to take our public works, our transportation employees, and move them to solid waste to be able to manage our trash, as Mr. Reed was mentioning, our trash conditions, shortcuts us on using our trucks. We got to have the availability to use these outside services when we need them. And yeah, I mean, it's costing money, but the majority of the money is up for reimbursement through FEMA grants. It's just a matter of how we have to track it to be able to get it. I have tracked storms for Bulloch County. My first storm was the ice storm in 2013. That was the first money that I know of ever recouped for Bulloch County through FEMA. 2016, 17, 18, the storms that came through, I'm rough guessing here, we probably tracked and reclaimed somewhere between $6 and $8 million through those storms. The storms that we're facing right now, Adelia from last year, we're probably looking at close to $10 million plus on Adelia storm to be able to track and recover that. Tropical Storm Debbie, we're probably looking at another $10 million. Hurricane Helen, we're probably looking at $18 million. One thing I want to say, until this past year with Adelia, Debbie, and Helen, every storm that we have tracked and recouped money for, we have managed on an in-house general budget. So all of the money that came back went to the general fund. It wasn't additional money, it was benefit money. I want the public to know we're doing the best job we can do. I will say this, if y'all think somebody else needs to do it, I'm short timing anyway. I'm on my way out. I'm at retirement. I'm trying to leave this. My goal was always to take public works from where it was, create a better environment for Bulloch County, a better service to Bulloch County, and leave it in better hands when I leave. That's always been my goal. And I hope that I can accomplish that by the time I go. Thank you. Any other questions?
Before a day, Mr. Dink, did we not have a conversation on the phone worried about the rock quarries running out of rock because we knew how bad it was going to be?
Oh, absolutely.
So 2 days before this storm.
Right. Yes. We reached out.
Daraso and Sand Creek pulled their trucks off
of what they were actually contracted to do at that time.
And do it for this county because they live in this county.
Because,
that's why they done it.
Yeah.
They're good people. They come, they grew a business here. They love the people here and they work here. Now, does the invoice need to be a little clear? Ain't no problem. That's a simple ask. We don't need to run them down on Facebook. They're not a commissioner. Their business runs off of everybody that looks at them, sees what they do every day of the week. I'm sorry, I will not stand by and let somebody I watch gravel and beat himself in the dirt to build a business, brother or not. These men are asset to this county. They're like our fire. They're like our sheriff, our police deputies. They're like our EMS, public works. They're the same thing. They're assets to this county. So we bring them up here and put them in front of a public meeting and bastardize them? Are you kidding me? We're supposed to care about each other. We're supposed to work together. Where's the sweat coming off everybody else's back? That's what I got problems with. There ain't nobody else putting no more sweat to it. But that man right there sure did. That man sitting right back there, I watched him do it. Without no help from his brother. I watched him do it. And I tell you this, I'm proud to call him my brother. Keep getting it done, baby boy. Keep getting it done. And that's the way we'll work around here.
Thank you, sir.
Just for asking, how long has the county done business with Sand Creek Construction?
Probably somewhere between 6 and 8 years. Might even have been longer than that because it went back probably as far as 2016, 17, some of the early storms. Every time we've asked, we've got the assistance. They were there, such as mentioned just then, when we reached out 2 days before what we knew was the storm coming, trying to get some materials in here to be able to deal with the aftermaths. Those two companies shut their obligations down
And because of that,
and
other
came
counties
to
didn't
help
have
us.
rock, and we had rock to fix the roads.
Right.
Because of them too.
They came to help us, and that means a lot. To have dependable relationships that you can call on and get response and get help. There was a lot of people. Y'all may remember we approved money over a year ago for assistance from outside contractors to help us catch these roads back up. We did not get any response from outside contractors to come help us work on these roads. None. Nobody was interested. Wasn't even interested in negotiating the terms that we tried to put together by FEMA rates for equipment, labor rates. Was not even interested in negotiating it. They had plenty of work to do. They did not need to be burdened with us. But when we called these guys, they came.
Well,
I personally want to thank them for helping us. So,
well, I can tell you this, and Mr. Simmons, he knows it. Mr. Mosley would know it if he was here. I remember approving payment to Sand Creek Construction before I knew either one of them men right there. One sat beside of me or his brother or his other brother. We was paying them then. And just like in just a minute, I'm going to pay him again. And I don't really care what they say on Facebook.
anything else?
Don't run off. You got a couple more.
I know. Thank you.
All right, moving on down the list. Like I said, don't run off.
Well,
Oh, yes, we do need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, before you ask, can I ask to abstain from this?
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely. Can we get a motion on this?
Motion on it.
Okay, and we got a motion and a second from Mr. Simmons. All in favor? Okay, got a unanimous decision there. Okay, moving on to number 3. Approve the purchase of a 2025 Cat bulldozer from Yancey Cat in the amount of $259,965.49. I believe this is going to be Mr. Siemens.
Good evening, Commissioners. Robert Siemens, Assistant Director of Public Works. Yes, sir, as stated, this is for a request for a replacement of a bulldozer. Recently, our 1997 D6 Dozier transmission failed. In doing so, as y'all know, this is an older piece of equipment. The motor's been rebuilt once previously, and the estimated cost to a guesstimate cost going in on the transmission started at $50,000. We did ask Cat to come in and assess the value on the Dozier, the 1997 Dozier. They did give us a trade-in value of $30,400 as it sit, and we are requesting the $259,000 plus contract is a Sourcewell contract for Yancey Cat. And I'll entertain any questions.
You said that was a 97. It was 20.
Yes, sir.
20.
It's a 1997.
Any idea how many hours on
it? 8,000. A lot.
And I take it you're going to use this to fix them roads with?
Yes, sir. That'll be part of it.
What's the turnaround on this? As soon as you pull the trigger,
at the lot out here waiting on us. We actually pulled it in the other day. We were going to rent it for a short term, and we asked them to hang on to it for us.
You got some trade in on the old one as well, is that right?
Yes, sir. $30,400.
Any further discussion on this? Go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Mr. Robert, how many hours on the new machine?
on the new machine.
Is it a demo?
Yes, sir. Well, no, sir. It was put on the rental line when we got it. It had 2 hours on it.
Any other questions or discussion here?
Move
Okay.
to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We got a first or a motion from Mr. Newkirk and a second from Mr. Simmons. All in favor? Got a unanimous decision on this.
Thank you.
Okay, don't run off. Mr. Simmons, don't run off. Next up, we got to approve a request for an additional $3 million for cleanup of storm debris for Hurricane Helene.
Mr. Bennett, I'm going to yield the floor to Dean Butler.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Just an update on Helene debris removal before we go into this approval. Currently, we're estimating 85% completion on the process. We're currently obligated for over $9 million of the previous approved $10 million. Based on our evaluations of the remaining responsibilities, we're requesting an additional $3 million to complete the project. To give some perspective to this, FEMA and GEMA reimbursement grant funding, after the declaration Hurricane Helene recovery, we were given 90 days at 100% reimbursement and 180 days to complete the cleanup. Sometime after that, Georgia's 100% reimbursement was extended to 120 days. The governor was given the opportunity to establish when that 120 days started and when it would end. The 120 days ended February the 4th, and that was the 100%. At that point, FEMA dropped back to 75% reimbursement. Governor of Georgia petitioned the General Assembly. There was funds put in the budget for this year to supplement local jurisdictions with recovery efforts. The governor put forth to the General Assembly asking for approval to add their additional 15% to the recovery rate, which puts Georgia at 25%. Georgia was already obligated for 10, and that puts them at 25%, which increases our 100% reimbursement from the storms through March the 24th, if the General Assembly approves it. If the General Assembly does not approve it, we'll be on the hook for 15% between February the 4th and March the 24th, which is March the 24th right now is the projected date by the contractors to complete their work. So worst case scenario, we could be on the hook for somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million out of pocket for Bulloch County if the General Assembly does not approve the additional 15%. If they do, everything's 100% recovery. Right now, we're pre-approved for expedited funding, which we went through negotiation process trying to justify how much money we were going to be recovering. The original estimates were based on 250 to 300,000 cubic yards, and we were able to justify, I think it was $11.8 million. Yes, and so we were obligated for 50% expedited funding without having to supply any additional information. That has been approved. We're waiting on GEMA to create the check, and that'll be $5.9 million, and it should be here within the next 30 days. That's Corey's explanation to me this morning, that we should have that 5.9 in hand within the next 30 days. Anything beyond that will be turned in through the monitoring company to justify any additional expenses to be able to get that money released and obligated to us as soon as possible. I was trying to see if I had any other notes here. I don't see anything else right now. Anybody have any questions about where we're at with this, why we need the additional funding? And the only thing I will say, I hope that we finish it by the 24th as they have give us that expectation. If not, at some point, we're going to have to put a cutoff date on this. One of the big things for us, we should have been through by now. It was abuse from our citizens that continued to put non-storm related debris in the right-of-ways. There is so much of this debris that was not storm related, that was people that took the opportunity to clean up their properties or take down trees that they wanted to take down. It was from contractors that didn't follow our directions when we cut off contractors from putting by the right of way, and it was their responsibility to take it back to the transfer station to the inert landfill. We have accepted or absorbed an extensive amount of abuse through this process at no fault of our own. We don't have the manpower to get out there and ride every road every day, watch everything everybody does. The contractors that are gathering this debris, they're monitored. All of that is done through a third party. That's a FEMA requirement that it be monitored through third party. People want to talk about abuse. They want to talk about misuse, fraud. It's virtually, other than the fact that our citizens abuse the situation, the contractor themselves have no way to abuse this situation. They're monitored by a third-party company. They're not monitored by us. They're not monitored by their own people. They're monitored by a third party. Believe me, we have had complications and arguments between the contractor gathering and the monitoring company about what is your volume in this truck. Is it 30%? Is it 50%? Is it 70%? The truck driver's going to want as much as he can get. The monitoring company is trying to be as honest as they can and justify what's in the truck. We have dealt with our share of arguments between the two, trying to keep this straight, keep it moving, and get it done. It has drawn out much longer than any of us would have liked. But it is what it is at this point. Anybody have any questions?
What are y'all projecting the total yardage to be whenever y'all finish up? Did I
Right
read?
now we're over 422,000
Okay.
cubic
Did
yards.
I see something like 485 is what y'all were thinking, or
Excuse me?
how much do y'all think y'all going to wrap up with?
I'm gonna guess it to end up somewhere between 450 and 500,000. We initially started out at 250 to 300, and we're already obligated at over 422,000.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
speak.
sir.
If we set a cutoff date, will that entice the contractors to leave, or leaving it open, or is that not a?
I think that is a risk we run at some point. I think they give us March the 24th as their projected completion date. I would say let's see if they complete it. If they complete it by March the 24th and we don't have any major issues left out there, then it's a nil point. But if it get to March the 24th and we've still got issues, then I think we've got to make some kind of decision and establish a cutoff date. At that point, we may risk them leaving. But if they leave and leave stuff on the ground that we've got to go back and get, I don't know exactly how we'll manage that and keep up with our normal maintenance responsibilities.
We cross that bridge when we get to it.
There you go. Thank you. You got anything you'd like to add to that?
I just want to make one brief little additive here. Back when this all started, this is the first experience Bulloch County has had bringing in large-scale contractors and monitoring companies. This was a huge storm. When we came to y'all initially, it was $3 million.
That fee was actually set by Tom Couch.
Yes.
as a starting point.
Yes.
Tom was the one that put $3 million out there as a starting point.
Yes. We knew we were going to have to come back. We were still trying to figure out where we were and get our feet on the ground. At that time, we were guesstimating, our contractors were guesstimating 250,000 cubic yards. We have well over 420 as of today. And I don't want to come back and ask y'all for more money, but we are out there. We are monitoring these companies as best we can, doing our daily jobs too. The monitoring company that we have in place is doing a great job. I will say today, we started the close down process on the Anderson site, which remember is out on 46. I put them on notice yesterday. The agreement with Mr. Anderson, February 28th. We weren't getting out of February without cleaning that place up. Rain's coming in tomorrow. They made it happen in 2 days, getting that place cleaned up. We're going out for an inspection in the morning. I hope to be sending Corey a letter later this week requesting EPD to come in and inspect for closure. So they're listening to us. We're doing everything we can, but this is the first big scale we've ever had to where we've had to hire these people in. Everything else, Dink Butler and his crews before me have taken care of. It was a huge ordeal and is a huge ordeal. But we do appreciate y'all and y'all working with us. Thank y'all.
One thing I will mention at this point, because he brought up the Anderson site, we had numerous sites that we permitted. We only used 2 sites that were not owned by Bulloch County. And of those 2 sites, neither property owner charged Bulloch County a dime for the use of that property. They were willing to help this community. One of them was Mr. Rayburn Anderson. The other one was Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Don't tell nobody that. They might think different.
Huh? Yours is still being used.
Yeah, don't tell nobody that. What you said, they might think a little different. You know what I mean? I want them to keep thinking just like they think.
They're not going to think much different of you.
We are appreciative of, I think we had 2 more in there.
And I can tell you,
Jeff Deal and the
Yes.
friend down off of
Gerald Edenfield volunteered land, and Jeff Deal volunteered land. We didn't end up using either one of those locations, but all of those locations were volunteered at no expense.
and
to
Mr.
Bulloch
Ellis.
County. And Mr. Ellis.
Hope you like
I hope you like it. So
and I was
Bulloch County residents were willing to really step up and help us through this process. They were people that I did contact that wanted $2,500 an acre per month to rent their property for storage. And to me, that was unreasonable. We kept going till we found some locations that were not an expense.
But I talk to them drivers every day, and I can tell you most of them have done left.
Huh?
Most of the storm debris people have already left.
Yeah.
I talk to them every day.
Yeah.
Get water.
So, any other questions?
Any other questions? All right. No further discussion. How about we get a motion on this?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second. All in favor?
Thank y'all.
Got a unanimous decision there. Okay. Moving up to number 8 on the consent agenda. Approve payment to Jenkins County C&D landfill for mulch disposal services for January 21st, 2025 through February 12th, 2025 in the amount of $231,627.86.
Y'all answered a lot of the questions about the FEMA. Y'all have already answered the questions about FEMA payment, all that on that. But I just curiosity, why is one company charging by the ton and the other one's by the yard?
It's the way they're set up. The Jenkins County landfill, they're set up the way they normally operate business. The gentleman, Mr. Collins, he is set up. He does grinding, he does hauling, all type of work like that. His is just set up
Gotcha. Is the price pretty equal to each other whenever you figure it out the yard per ton and all that? Okay. I was just curious. Most of the time it's either or. I've just never seen them mix like that. So that was my only question.
Yes, sir.
Curiosity more than anything
They're
else.
fairly reasonably close. Yes, sir. I can't tell you they're exactly dead on, but they're close.
I was just curious. Appreciate it. I'm good on both of them.
Okay, can we do them both as one motion then? Is that okay?
Yeah, well, I do them separately. Since
Okay,
they were
all right.
Moved to new business. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion from Mr. Newkirk and a second from Mr. Rushing. All in favor? Got a unanimous decision on number 8. Number 9, we got a motion from Mr. Rushing and a second from Mr. Newkirk. All in favor? Got a unanimous decision on that one. I believe that takes care of all of our new business and carries us to our executive session. Oh, staff comments. I'm sorry. Man. Do we have any comments from the commissioners or staff? We'll start with the staff first.
Ryan Hendricks, Director of EMS. Just want to remind y'all, Friday from 4 to 6, come look at the expansion of the EMS. Citizens, taxpayers, come see what your tax dollars are doing. So I have some of our new ambulances there as well. You can look at those and come look at the expansion.
What time?
See the good we're doing in the community.
What time?
4 to 6 p.m. at Grady Street.
26 West Grady.
26 West Grady. Okay.
County Engineer Brad Deal. I'm just giving a brief update on the bridge on Cypress Lake Road that at Dry Branch. I'm sure all of you are aware that we had the accident last week where the car went off the side of the bridge and hit the corner of one of the beams that protrudes out from the side of the bridge, which caused it to shift and splintered a couple of the pile that support the bridge. So GDOT has come in and done their initial inspection on it, and we're still trying to get all of their recommendations and information on all of the repairs that we're going to have to do. And we have a list of contractors put together that we think would be able to do the repairs. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't have all the information on the time length and the costs at this point for the repairs, but we are working on that. And it's not something that we're going to be able to open the bridge like next week or anything. We know there's a lot of traffic that uses that road. So we're trying to minimize the length of time that it's going to be closed, but it is going to take a little bit of time, and I should have some more information on that fairly soon. But just let me know if you have any questions.
Mr. Deal, just so everybody in here knows too, could you just talk about Akins Pond Road and the red light for a second?
Yes, sir. So we do, GDOT has approved a traffic signal permit for Akins Pond Road and Highway 80. And currently, I think they are working on the details of how the project is going to be constructed, or, are they going to handle the construction themselves? Is the county going to be involved in that and provide partial funding? We did have funds in the budget for that intersection in the budget. So we do have funds there, but we're hoping that GDOT is going to possibly fund the whole thing, but we don't know that yet. We're still awaiting word on it. And just to throw this in about the bridge, I was going to mention this a while ago. That bridge is scheduled to be replaced. It is in the budget. There was some discussion about it, which bridge on Cypress Lake Road was budgeted to be replaced. It is this one, but we had those funds budgeted to be combined with some GDOT funds, and it was not this year that it was going to be replaced. It's still, I think, 2 or 3 years out. But so we're going to have to try to repair it at this time, I believe, to get us by a little bit longer, and eventually the bridge is going to be replaced. It had a lot of issues, pre-existing issues before. So
thank you.
Ben Tapley, Fire Chief. I won't keep y'all long. Director Tillman wanted me to remind you that we did order 3 fire engines about 2.5 years ago. And Chief Sykes and our emergency vehicle technician will be leaving March 11th, going to Ocala, do the final inspection, come back on the 12th, and hopefully a couple of days later they'll be delivered. So we will have 3 new fire engines coming in. about the second week of March. So just wanted to let you know about that. Thank you.
Evening again, Commissioners. James Pope, I'm the Planning and Development Director. And I guess last week, Ms. Steinman appointed me as the Groundwater Sustainability Program Manager. So the 4 wells that'll be down in Southeast Bulloch, I'll be the program manager for now, or until the foreseeable future. I just wanted to mention that the plan that was adopted, I guess in November, December, had a couple of dates in there, target dates for us to meet, and milestones to meet. And so, in the past 2 weeks, I've been busy getting acquainted with that plan and taking action to meet those deadlines. I have published on the website the groundwater sustainability informational page that is going to be for the Bulloch County link on our website. The program itself will have a joint program website, which is going to have a lot more information than what you see currently on our bullochcounty.net website. But that's in the works. And then we're working now to reserve a 1-800 number, so that if in the event that you had an issue with your well, whether you're in Bulloch or Bryan County, you'll call a 1-800 number. Both program managers, Bulloch and Bryan program managers, will get that call, and we'll decide who answers. If it's in Bulloch, I'll answer, and so on. To expedite any response that we give for those wells or any impact. Beginning last Friday, we sent out letters to the Bulloch and Bryan County citizens, or property owners that are within the 5-mile area that was designated for the mitigation program. So I know, Chairman, your letter went out today, so you should see that in the mail. But I just want to bring that to your attention, that citizens will be getting that in the mail. It's a link to a voluntary well registration site. So we're asking well owners to answer a few questions, provide technical data if they know it. If not, they may talk to their well driller if that's available, and submit that information to build a database to help if in the event something were to occur, we can be proactive and communicate with the well owners. Currently, I'm working with Ron Nelson and Bryan County to develop an RFP for the on-call well drillers. We've identified the need for at least 3, but we may do more, at least for the initial phases. And then also I've been in discussion with EMA Director Kemp Corey Kemp to talk about, the worst case scenario with wells, what would be an EMA response outside of what the plan may call for. So, just trying to get all that discussed as early as possible. So I just, again, wanted to update you, Commissioners, on my efforts in doing that, and any support you can lend, sure appreciate it. Thank you.
I just have a couple of things that I want to say. First, before we get too off topic, I just want to mention how grateful I am, at least, that the Public Works Department is doing what they can to get FEMA reimbursement. There are many, many jurisdictions that don't go after it at all because of the nightmare that it becomes. And for the 10 years that I've been here, and especially the last 5 to 6, when the storms appear to be getting stronger, I have watched them stress themselves to death and work weekends and nights and do everything that they can to make sure that that money is recouped back from FEMA. And so I just want to make sure that y'all understand what goes into that, and that it's not something that we ever have to go after, but it's something that department tries to make sure that we never leave laying on the table. So you should be proud of them. The other thing I wanted to mention that I sent you all in an email is that we received the submissions for the RFPs for the recruiting firm for a county manager. We got 10 in, and I did ask for some feedback on how you all wanted to go about selecting this firm. I did get one response back, which was that me and possibly a few other people just review it and make recommendations, which is perfectly fine. I am almost all the way through reviewing those. So if that's the process that you all want to continue, we will continue in that direction and bring something back to you maybe at the next meeting. And that's all I have.
Real quick, I just want to remind everyone that the budget retreat is coming up on the 17th and 18th at the Bishop Building at Georgia Southern. So 8:30 in the morning on March 17th. There will be snacks and coffee.
Yeah. Mr. Simmons said he is thrilled to death.
I just want to thank everybody. Ms. Dink, y'all doing a great job out there, especially being able to get 100% recoup on the funds. That is just crazy to get that much money back from doing what y'all do with that. Also, I want to mention we had that open house or the town hall meeting last week. I want to thank everybody, all the staff that put in all the extra time to get it all set up, get all the live mics going. I appreciate all that. I think we had a good turnout, and we'll probably continue that in the future. But I just want to thank everybody for coming, and appreciate that.
I'd like to say to my fellow commissioners and I hate to start mentioning departments because I always leave somebody out, Dink and fire department and everything. I appreciate what you do. Take your licks. We got to take ours. Don't get upset. Just hold on. Some people you can't please with a pleasing machine. Don't worry about them. Worry about the ones you can satisfy. Oh, you got a 70-mile-an-hour wind coming tonight. Of course, it's going to make my cash register ring, but you know, y'all going to have some limbs on the ground, and maybe y'all have some county employees and some county trucks right ready to go at their house when that tree falls across the road at 2 o'clock in the morning. Y'all just hang tight, Recreation Department. Appreciate everything y'all do. EMS. If I didn't mention your name, raise your hand. Y'all good.
Only thing I'd like to say, it's always easy to stand on the outside of the road and talk about stuff you don't know about. But I do appreciate the staff that we have. I don't think they ever try to hide anything. The road department, Mr. Butler, from the recreation department, these people work hard. They work hard for the taxpayers' money. And I don't ever, I've been here for a little bit. I've never seen them try to skimp or try not to help the taxpayers of Bulloch County. It's just not true. I mean, you can sit and look at Facebook and talk junk all you want to, but I know what goes on with these here men and women. They work for the county and the taxpayers. They ain't throwing away no money. You might see one of them stop to get a cup of coffee. So what? It doesn't make any difference. They work hard, and they work on the weekends. They work they work when something happens. They're out there. I don't even worry about it. I call them. They get out and do it. Any of these commissions do the same thing. The second guessing, if you don't know what you're talking about, get out there and ride with them. Get out there at 3 o'clock in the morning and go with them and pick up limbs and ride with EMS. I know they're out there. I don't worry about all that. That's all I have to say. You look like you got something to say. You go ahead. No, you. I want you to say it like you did at the banquet the other night. Okay, well, Mr. Connor, you got anything you'd like to say?
Only one thing. I do appreciate everybody putting forth hard work in this county, citizens and employees. It definitely has been a trying 2 years. So, you know, it's a true act, and you wonder why people want to move here. It ain't hard to see at all. And I would kind of wish Mr. Tucker hadn't left. I'd like to give him the explanation I gave him the last meeting, but he was gone then too. But I don't know. I don't know everything. I sure don't. But I work at it every day, try to figure it out. That's all I got to say. And thank y'all men for serving on this board with us.
Before we go into executive session, I'll just say a couple things here real quick. Number one, like Mr. Davis said, March 18th is the day for the referendum day for the SPLOST. I can't campaign about SPLOST, but I'll say the same thing that I've said every time that I've got up here. Men and women have sacrificed their lives, their blood, sweat, and tears so that you have the right to vote in this country. Please take the opportunity to go and vote however you choose for the SPLOST. I'll leave it at that. Along those same lines, like Mr. Connor said, this has been a challenging year already, and we're in the first week of March. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting year as a chairman. My eyes have been open to a lot of things, and I appreciate the support of the citizens here and the staff and these other commissioners. These gentlemen will tell you we don't always get along. We don't agree eye to eye. Well, we do get along, but we don't always agree on everything. But you know what? We will work it out, and we will come to an agreement for the betterment of this community. This staff is a good group of folks, and they work for the betterment of this community. And I'm impressed every day by what they do. Last week, I had the opportunity to go and tour the Bulloch County Correctional Institute. And I'm going to tell you that if you want to talk about a good news story in this community, you need to take the time to go out and go tour the Bulloch County Correctional Institute. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with what goes on in our state prisons here, but it is horrid the way that people are treated in our state prisons here. I fly people out of Smith State Prison down in Glenville on a regular basis, and it hurts my heart to see the way that people are treated down there. I thought that the way people are treated in war is bad. It's nothing in comparison to the way they're treated in that prison. I may get in trouble for saying that online for the public to see, but that's the reality of what happens there. It was very impressive to see the conditions of Bulloch County Correctional Institute. And I told Mr. Tillman and Warden Toole, after I went through it, I said, one of the first things that hit me when I walked in there was, I said, the smell when I walked into the Correctional Institute. And they kind of looked at me, and I said, when I walked in, it smelled clean. And that's an old building. It was built back in the 40s, and those pods, they're tight. You've got bunk beds about that wide, and in between them, they had those two prisoners, and they were standing at attention, and they had their wall lockers behind them, and they were opened up so that I could look inside of them and inspect them, which was really odd because I haven't anything like that happen since I was in the Army a long time ago. And they were standing there, and they made eye contact with you, and they were happy to be there. To see people happy to be in prison is an odd thing. But you'd ask them where they were before they came to Bulloch Correctional Institute. They were in places like Jackson, Washington, Smith, Rogers. And you'd ask them about the conditions there, and they'd say it was a war zone, a gladiator academy, a combat zone, and hell. And they said they get the opportunity to come to Bulloch Correctional Institute, and they say, I get to come here, I get 3 good meals a day. Nobody fights. Nobody steals from me. I get to go out every day. I get to go to work. I get sunshine. I get to learn a skill. If I don't have a job or if I don't have a high school education, I get to get my GED. So while they're doing that, the state is paying us $25 a day to keep those prisoners here. $25 a day, correct? $25, 30, 40, 24, sorry.
We're hoping for 25.
Okay, 24. Done misspoke. But, and then we take those folks and they save us a lot in labor throughout the county. They go out, they work on a road grader, they work in the maintenance shop. So they save us money here. If that ain't a good news story, I don't know what is. So, that's something that I'm proud of, and it made me proud to be able to go out and walk out the door of that correctional institute that day and know that we're helping those folks out, getting them in a better environment, keeping them safe, training them, and helping to make them to where when they walk out in the street, because they're going to come back out in the street again, they know how to act like a normal human being again. So it's a good thing, and that's something to be proud of, to be part of, and say that, hey, I'm a citizen of Bulloch County and I'm helping to do that, because there's not many places in this state that can say they do that. So I want to share that with y'all. We're about to go into executive session. Gentlemen, does anybody need a break before we go in? Or y'all just want to drive on? You need a break? Okay. So we get a motion to take a break? Second? Okay. All in favor? Okay. We're going to take a motion, take a break for about 10 minutes, and we'll come back at, we'll call it 8:25, or what do y'all want, 8:25? We'll just come back and do that. 8:25, we'll come back, and we're going to go into executive session when we come back. So.